How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping out another video. Right, guys, this time it is the EDP24 website, right? Prisoner who was found hanged in his cell faced threats over drug debts, inquest hears. A prisoner who faced threats from other inmates over his drug debts was found hanged in his cell days after he was moved back onto a main wing, an inquest has heard. Matthew Gray, 31, rest in peace, God bless you, was found at HMP Norwich on March the 20th last year and died in hospital 2 days later. A hearing in Norwich was told on Monday. Norfolk area coroner Yvonne Blake said he had been threatened over his drug debts, had a known history of incidents of self-harm in custody and was on a mental health care plan. He told staff he was under threat from other prisoners but measures were ineffective, she said. Matthew did name the prisoners who were threatening him, but there was no evidence this was investigated. He had jumped onto the safety netting on March the 8th and was moved into the segregation unit. Miss Blake said he refused to leave the unit when asked on March the 16th and was put in restraints and moved back onto the main wing. Mental health nurse Kate Shaw said Mr. Gray was receiving victim support and had a history of drug and alcohol misuse. Mr. Gray had been recalled to prison on July the 23rd, 2016 for breaching the terms of his licence, Miss Blake said. The inquest is listed for 9 days with a jury. Just last month, we told of staff concerns about the conditions at the Knox Road jail. Assaults are said to be commonplace, with inmates using improvised weapons and boiling water to attack officers. This is the usual in prisons up and down the country, guys. Staff claim such incidents were partially behind the high numbers of officers currently on sick or restricted duties. One officer is said to have been on the sick for more than 12 months after being stabbed in the neck. Officers also said drugs, including the synthetic cannabis substitute spice, were regularly found inside the prison. One member of staff said contraband was sometimes thrown over the walls or smuggled inside by prisoners on recall. No mention of prison officers bringing it in though, guys, is they are coming in through visits. Last week, around 80 members of staff walked out of the prison. For those who don't know, there was the POA called for strike action. Within a few hours, they were straight back on the wings because they sat down and the Ministry of Justice pulled the pants down and they had them over a barrel. The action, which the prison officers insisted was not a strike, well, yes, it was, comes after attacks on the staff at the jail have risen dramatically over the past few years. Now, with drug debts, guys, in prison, they don't go unpunished. Do you know what I mean? For those that don't know, guys, right, you can put yourself on VP, which is like I say, for the most part, it's rapists, kiddie fiddlers, sex offenders, rapists, bacons, nonsense, whatever you want to call them. But you do get protection people on that wing. You've got OP, which is own protection. You're on a normal wing. You get out for half an hour in the morning and you get out for half an hour in the evening. The fact he jumped on the netting on March the 8th last year was he wanted to get a nicking. He wanted to get a nicking. He wanted to get off the wing. He probably got threatened, jumped onto the netting. All the lads then will get locked up, right? So he gets them off, he gets them away from him, and then he goes down to the segregation unit. When it comes to people addicted to drugs in prison, right, you either feel sorry for them, right, because it's an addiction and drugs are being given to them on tick and they're being, yeah, I'll pay it. They're lying, yeah, I'll pay it. They're lying to the loved ones on the outside, I'm not taking drugs, or I am taking drugs, my life's in danger, I need money, I need more money. And like I say, they play the game and stuff like that, but if you are in prison and you get drugs on debt, you don't take anything on tick because you've got to pay double back. It's called double bubble, or we call it double trouble. If you all say you're going to pay something back and you don't pay it, it gets doubled again. At some point, the prisoner, depending on the temperament of that prisoner, will either smash you up himself, or if he doesn't want to get a nick in, he'll pay someone a loose cannon on the wing and say, right, I'll give you some spice, I'll give you some tobacco, whatever your drugs of choice, I'll give you to go in and just fucking fill him in for me. Hot water him, napalm him, smash him, tuna in a sock, pull ball in a sock, shank him, whatever the case may be. And obviously, prison's a very lawless place, guys, and the fact is, you can either look at him and think it's his fault for getting in debt, but again, it's an addiction. People that with addictions and stuff like that are some of the most vulnerable and susceptible people in society. They go to prison. Drugs are used for many different reasons, guys. Coping mechanisms, peer pressure, bullying into it, coming to prison as addicts, using it, like I say, as a coping mechanism to escape the reality of prison. But like I say, prison's ruthless, guys. The law of, you've got prison rules, you've got house block rules, and then you've got the prisoner's rules. And it's the prisoner's rules you don't want to fucking correspond, right? He broke I know what people are going to say. Or in prison, guys, one thing you don't do is grass. By grassing, guys, if you think that's going to make your problem go away, you're absolutely mistaken. You never ever grass. Don't sweet grass, just don't grass. Right? You can't walk away from these people. I mean, you might get put down the seg, you might get put on another wing, but prisoners know prisoners within the jail. You go on visits, you're in the gym. Yeah, is that kid on your wing? Yeah. Do me a favour, fill him in for me. I'll give you some fucking spice, some steroids, some tobacco, whatever the case may be. So yeah, like I say, you don't grass. This prisoner obviously felt the need to grass, which I don't. You know what I mean? You shouldn't do that. At the end of the day, you're being given drugs on tick. Yes, it's an addiction. They start telling the drug dealer, yeah, I'll get it, mate, I'll pay for it, blah, blah, blah. The drug dealer gives him on tick, knowing that he's never, ever going to be far away from him. And even if he's on another wing, it can still get to him, apart from the VP wing for the most part. But they put him in the segregation unit for a week, for 8 days, and then he didn't want to he didn't want to leave the segregation unit. They brought him back off onto the wing. They tied him up, they twisted him up, they dragged him back onto the main. And then he paid with his life, which is tragic, guys. No one should leave prison in a body bag. Addiction is a horrible thing for people to suffer within prison. Like I say, I don't do drugs, I don't smoke or anything. But when I was in prison, I like my hooch, man. But like I say, addiction, you have to pay up. And unfortunately, this prisoner decided to pay with his life. He wasn't murdered. He sought suicide as a way out. Now, like I say, how low must that individual have felt to actually take his own life? It's tragic, it's sad, it shouldn't happen, but sadly it has happened and stuff. And like I say, the fact he was a self-harmer, the fact he had problems with drug and alcohol, he might have been on the detox wing. There's more drugs on the detox wing than there are than regular wings for the most part, depending on what prison you're in and stuff like that. But prison and drugs, the market's very lucrative and stuff like that, and it's just, like I say, addiction's horrific. And if you're in prison and you turn to spice or any of the other drugs that are available, you're paying a premium for them. And unless you've got money coming out of your ass, don't take the drugs, because, like I say, you will pay physically, emotionally, mentally, or financially. And like I say, in this circumstance, this prisoner felt no other way out than being bullied to within an inch of his life. He wasn't being investigated, but how can you prove the bullying? You do it in the cells, you do it behind closed doors. Do you know what I mean? It's a sad and tragic set of circumstances, guys, but it's prison. It doesn't shock me at all. But again, my thoughts and prayers are with the victim and the victim's family. God bless him, may rest in peace. Leave it there, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about this story, and we'll go from there. Cody out.